Page 59, Etude. On the previous pages, they're introducing you to a contraption called an inversion, a chord inversion. A chord, we've been using chords, primary chords, like let's go to C major because we typically use C major because it just uses the white keys. It's easier to see on the keyboard, the layout. We take the primary chords in C major. One chord, 4, 5, 7, 1. We got multiple notes. If I want to invert it, I turn it over. In other words, I just rearrange the notes. I take the C and I put it on top. It's called first inversion. I've inverted it one time. I can do it again. Put the E and put it on top. Second inversion. It's the same chord. It's still a C chord. See, the idea is it's these note names. Doesn't matter what pattern. I could have a C here, and a G, and an E. Sounds terrible, but it's still a C chord. There's the arrangement that sucks, but it's a C chord. So we have first inversion, second inversion. Root. With the original, when the notes are one note apart, like this, there's a note. It's called root position. It's like your starting point. You need to know what the root position is on a chord, because that way you can start to identify the chord, because the bottom note tells you what it is. In this case, it's a C chord. Now, chords get a little more complicated than that, but let's just stick with this. Keep it simple. You can't tell what this is by looking at it because there's two notes here. It's not root position. Put it in root position. And you can invert it going either direction. I can go down. I can put the G on here. But we still call that second inversion because the numbered inversions always go up. So root first, second. And any chord can be inverted. There's a G chord. I can do that. Put the G on top. Put the B on top. And just like seeing the root in the music, the chords in the music, you'll learn to recognize these inversions too in time. They have a certain pattern to them. Take a look on page 58 on the whole notes in the right hand. C chord, you have the root, and the next measure is first inversion. You see by looking at the notes, there's a bigger space between two of the notes. Well, that's when it's between the upper two notes, it's first inversion. And the next one is second inversion. You see the broader note, the space between the notes, that's between the bottom two. That's second inversions, because you'll learn to recognize them in the music too. Other than that, I don't really know what help they're going to give you. They haven't given me a lot of help over the years. I just happen to know what they are. And I recognize them, and I played them enough that when I'm sight reading or playing music, I don't have to think about note, 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 note. I'm thinking this is chord, and I know what notes are in it, so that's it. So let's talk etude here. 6/8 times, so an eighth note gets a count, and there's going to be 6 of them in a measure, or the equivalent of 6. And I'm going to take both hands together, because really what this etude is, it's a broken chords, and it's inversions of different chords. So here at the beginning, we have here we got an A minor chord, left hand, same chord, just 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Next measure, then we come up, leave in the right hand, leave the thumb where it is. So just come up. In the left hand, you're coming up here. I need to leave the little finger where it is. I'm just coming up here. So here, I'm just as thumb, I'll come up. And then I come down to G chord and C chord, come up. What you were doing originally. So if you can get these chords, and it doesn't hurt to play them as block chords to start with. The second measure, it's this. Third measure here. Fourth measure. Next measure, next line. Here. You have to be careful because sometimes on that one note changes or two notes change. So watch it. And then you come back up. once you get the chord progression, it begins to make a little sense. Then all you're doing is breaking them. Legato. I suggest to start with you play this all legato with the hands. Get the idea? After you worked out what the chords are and the notes and you got all that, then once you have that, you can put in the slurs. Just lift up between each slur. We want a little silence between here and here. Just breath. Now, a little bit about slurring. There's different kinds of slurs, believe it or not. And they're all not the same way. They're not played the same. This thing, they're slurring the notes for each chord. So it's but what you're actually going to do is you're going to play it all legato. There's not going to be any break between the slurs here. And the idea is, how do I know which is which? Well, I try it both ways, and which do I like better? And in this case, I prefer it all to be, it all kind of runs together. Another clue might be the pedaling indication, although in these method books you can't rely on that, because a lot of times the author will change the pedal indication to make it simple for you, rather than following the articulation. So this is indicated pedal legato throughout, which will connect it. But that's not necessarily how you're going to play it. You just have to try it both ways and you say which makes more sense. Well, if I do it disconnected, if I separate the slurs, it's a bit choppy. That means every measure is a slur. That's choppy. So I'm just going to run it together. If I do break it, it'll be between the second and third lines, because I'm finishing it. Because now I'm starting back like I did at the beginning. That tells me it's a new phrase, so I can separate the second line from the third line. But other than that, I think it's all legato throughout. Now, dynamic-wise, they say soft, and there's no melody here, so it's all the same. You decide what soft is. I don't recommend you play the whole thing soft. Get to know it well enough that you can kind of feel what's going on here, and you can get a little louder and soft as you feel it. Experiment. Try different things out. Speed-wise, moderato, and again, who knows? It's somewhere in the middle, but is it the beat? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 7, 2, 3, 4, 5. Or is it the overall flow of the piece? Because I can feel this in 2. 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1. Could go either way. Who knows what it? I don't know. I have to ask the person who composed it. How fast do you want this to go? People won't agree. For our purposes, we're going to go slow. As far as the pedal goes, it's overlapping pedal throughout, but I am going to separate the second and third lines so we get a phrase, and at the end the pedal will come up with the hands. I'm not going to demonstrate it. I'll do it in the play with me that way. Now they are introducing a new sign, symbol, word, something, I don't know what you call it. But if you look at the end of the first line under the stabs, you see the S-I-M-I-L-E thing, that's simile. Sometimes it's just S-I-M period for short, simile. It means the same thing. It means keep doing what you've been doing. And it depends on where it is in the music as to what it's referring to, because it could be referring to the articulation, could be referring to the dynamics, it could be referring, here it's at the bottom where the pedal is, it's the pedal. In other words, keep pedaling it the way you've been pedaling it, which means it's legato and we're changing it on each measure. And the reason we're changing it on each measure is because that's the harmony. You know, it's when we're changing the harmony, so we change the pedal with it. So I'm going to give us 6 counts. Let's play this together slowly. 1, 2, 3, 4. Ready, go.